No. Oh, here we are. Okay, great. Hi, Miss Rula.
Hi.
Okay, so we're here for our second observation. I observed Miss Rulo on Monday, April 1st at 11:30 for grade 4 math resource room. It's a group of 7 students?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, one of them was out that day. We had 6.
Okay, 6, but 7 in total.
Right.
Okay. What was the objective of the lesson?
The objective of the lesson was for them to be able to figure out the value of an unknown side given the area or perimeter.
Okay, so we did the area or perimeter in the class. I used the tool number 29, which was strategies for diverse learners. I gave you a copy of the tool that I used for you during class. So let's talk about some things that I noticed in your lesson. Was area and perimeter a new concept for your students?
Yes, it's fairly new. They were introduced to it only 2 other lessons.
Okay, so what were some of the learning outcomes that you were hoping to accomplish?
One of the big ones was for them to clearly be able to differentiate when they were dealing with area or they were dealing with perimeter, because the lesson before I saw that they were confusing those and were not sure what formula to use to figure out either
Area
one.
or perimeter. Okay, so I noticed that you were in reference to, and I'm just going to jump out of order. I know that you have a copy of this, as far as using different modalities in the lesson modifications. I know that you used the smartboard in order to put the lesson, and you had boxes with missing inches, missing inches on the sides for them to figure out how to calculate the one that was missing. So how do you feel that they did throughout the lesson?
Once they were clear on the formulas for getting area or perimeter, they were able to do the area problems very easily because it was simply turned into a multiplication problem. 6 times blank equals 54, 9. However, when they were dealing with the perimeter problems and they were only given the one side of a rectangle, which is actually 2 sides because they're equal, they were having a very difficult time when they got the missing amount to divide it amongst the 2 sides. And eventually we ended up just using our double strategy. And they would double up the one side, get that double. When they get the other number, they'd be like, what number do I need to double to arrive here? And it just clicked for them. All of a sudden, by using the doubles, they were able to kind of let go of the formula for perimeter, which the one length times width plus 2 times length plus 2 times width. They kind of dropped that one back to the adding the 4 sides and then using double strategy to fill in those missing sides.
Now, I noticed, which I thought was very, very effective, that you went over quickly the doubles. You went over those double facts with them. You went 2 times 2, 3 times 3.
Right.
You did all of that with them so that they were able to kind of catch on. It was almost like a...
Right. When I said to use your double strategy, a couple of them got it, but I could see the blank stares. I'm like, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6. And all of a sudden they were like, oh, I know what my doubles are. And then they were able to retrieve those and use them.
What alerted you that they weren't understanding?
If they don't verbally start chiming in, then I get the sense they're not really sure where we're going.
Okay. What was your method for checking for understanding for the kids?
Well, the lesson ran a little bit longer because we did kind of pull out and go into that double strategy. But by the end, there was an independent work page that they were doing. They felt confident with it. And then the next day I checked through their homework to see if they...
Okay. What do you think went really well about the lesson?
The one thing I think went really well is that they remained engaged in it. And for me, that's primary, because once they're no longer engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So they did stay engaged. They kind of thought of it, it seemed like, as a challenge. They didn't give up easily. And the fact that they were able to use that double strategy to find those unknown sides. I was pleased that they could see that and kind of get past using that other formula and go back to just adding the sides.
Okay. So you encourage the students really, really appropriately by offering some praise when they were getting things correct. And also, even if they made errors, you didn't hone in on those errors. You kept encouraging them to move on. What I noticed was that the student that we had spoken about previously, that was kind of in shutdown mode, he kind of made a little bit of a turnaround from the observation. I know that I obviously am not in there every day to be witness to the things that go on a daily basis, but I saw you give some subtle cues to let him know that you were observing what he was doing, and also that you were able to give him some type of positive feedback. Can you tell me how some of the techniques that we had discussed about previously have worked, and also how you maybe have molded them specifically to your rapport that you've established with him?
Well, after your suggestion about giving him more praise for work done, knowing Kevin, he does not like to be singled out for good or bad, and that tends to kind of leave him in that space where when he does shut down, it's very hard to get him back in a group, because the more you reach out to him publicly, the more he withdraws. So after speaking with you after our last conference, I'm like, it has to be something settled, that he knows that I'm seeing what he's doing, and I just started using a thumbs up with him. I would walk over, I'd be like, great job, Kevin, or I'd be looking at this, or he would contribute, great job. And I think it's just working nice, because he does not like being singled out, but he's getting acknowledged in a very subtle way that I'm seeing what you're doing, thank you for contributing.
Yeah, I think the positive reinforcement that you're providing to him is very effective for him. The other component of your lesson, which I thought was really great, in addition to having everything, and I'm just reflecting back on my notes, was that all the formulas you had for perimeter and area you organized on the board, and you had them all, even though the main goal of the lesson was area and perimeter, you had everything broken down into smaller sub-formulas, I guess. Can you explain how that technique of breaking down larger tasks into smaller manageable parts works for the students specifically that you work with?
Well, it gives them support, it gives them scaffolding, because there are things they do know, and if they can apply that to things they're learning now, that's the most effective way for them to learn. So to just put that general, especially like I said, area, they were able to do that pretty easily, but to put that perimeter formula up, show them a figure, leave two sides without a value, that's a big task. They have to first realize that the opposite side is the same as the named side. So we kind of just went and made 4 lines for the 4 sides, put our plus signs in between, filled in the 2 sides we knew. Now, that just took that task totally down to 4 little building blocks. And then they were like, oh, then those other 2 sides, whatever that thing is, has to be split for those other 2 sides. I don't think they would have just managed it using the traditional formula.
Okay. What would you do differently if you had to teach the lesson over again?
I think I would teach it on 2 different days, finding the unknown side of a figure regarding area, and another day for perimeter. I think having those 2 meshing in together
Became confusing for them.
And you know, I started doing it, and then I saw, even in the book, it was, one was area, the next one was perimeter, the next one was area. I'm like, wait a second, let's just do the 2 area ones first, because that flipping back and forth was going to be difficult.
I was going to say, even if you felt that they were confused, they I felt that they did a good job managing going back and forth between the two ideas.
Yes, eventually.
For
at
those
the
kids that are
yeah.
limited. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
that they did a pretty good job. What do you feel that you gained from the observation process?
I just think it forces you to be more reflective, to look at what you actually did, what was your plan to accomplish, and what did you actually accomplish, and what manner it was accomplished in. Was it like, dragging things out of people, or was it a true natural learning experience? So I think the observation process does make me be more reflective about all areas of my teaching.
Okay, so just to summarize what we discussed your strategies for diverse learners. We focused on breaking larger tasks into smaller, more manageable parts, specifically for special ed students, which we know is a modification in their IEPs, the majority of them. And we talked about using verbal praise as a part of positive reinforcement for students that are hard to reach. So I want to thank you for allowing me to have this observation experience with you.
You're welcome.